what happens is a lot of people like us, before I met my Cheikh, before I met my master, before I met my teacher, I was a Buddhist, Hindu, Taoist, Kemetic, Rastafarian, alkaline vegetarian, astral projecting, lapis lazuli crystal wearing, Kabbalistic Sufi. Into everything. Man, what? If you put, I was insane. I'm the type of nigga, I'll be under a bridge eating grasshoppers for a year. Like, hold up, man, is this gonna make me God? I mean, you know, I would read something in a book and practice it. You know how dangerous that is? Yeah. You know how dangerous? I had some experiences where it was like, ah, can I just get back into my body? Man. That's crazy. Hell no. Them practices, if you don't have a living master, it's dangerous. Because it's more in the unseen world than in the seen. Our book, the Holy Quran says, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Salik al-Kitab al-Arayba fihu dal-Muntakin, Aladin al-Yubnul Guide. This is the book in which there is no doubt for those who believe in the guide and the unseen. Man, do you know it's multiple parallel universes coming right through this room right now? Alternate realities, alternate states of consciousness that you just, you can slip into that shit and you be on the bus. Hey, how you doing? You okay? How's your family? Oh yeah, good to see you again. Talking to somebody that nobody can see but you. I remember it was a lady on the bus in Philadelphia carrying on a full-fledged conversation with an empty seat, but it had to be so the shit was too detailed. And oh, I like that scarf you're wearing. It's so nice. And your children are going to school. I'm like, she done tapped into another universe and can't find her way back to this one. So all that to say, finding a living master on this path is a life-saving thing. You could go to Borders, I love this example. You could go to Borders bookstore right now, buy a book on 36 chambers of Shaolin sword style, Tai Chi sword style. Take that same book, go to Chinatown, buy the Shaolin Tai Chi sword, open the page 58, and chop your hand off. Messing around with these sciences. Yeah. Well, sister, what will bring you to a lecture like this?
What brings me here is pretty much just trying to work on the purification of my heart. It's more of a personal thing, trying to go back to the state, that childlike, figural state that we all were at one point. The childlike, innocent goodness, just to be more creature of love and understanding.
Purification of the heart, creature of love.
And all of this just for peace of mind, you know. All of this is for peace of mind.
Just for peace of mind. Man, there's a guy outside right now on the subway asking for 50 cents to get a bottle of wine for a peace of mind. If you find a peace of mind in America, you're basically walking on water. That's like Jesus walking on water, just to get to peace of mind. Because as we study the alchemical path, there's 7 levels to the stations of the soul. Like everybody heard about the 7 chakras. Or just as there is a system that outlines the progression of Kundalini from the base of the spine to the crown chakra for enlightenment, there's also a system that relates the higher self and lower self based off of the 7 levels of your soul, or what we call nafs. And this is actually the beginning of what we want to speak about today, because if you see the word alchemy,
the definitions in some dictionaries, like a medieval scientist.
Yeah, what would you give? I guess I better finish before I get started. So what's your, when you think of alchemy, what do you think of?
I think about a lot of things, honestly, because I was studying a lot of stuff. I look into a lot of things. I look into Hermetic teachings. I look into different religions, multiple religions. I think God body. I grew up in a Christian household.
All right, peace to the God.
Yeah, and I was Sunni and Muslim. Then I read a book called Creating Your Reality. And I read a book called White Book. And that stuff in those books, I can't really sit here and try to explain it. It's more, I'll have to read it 4 or 5 times to say it. Be like, oh yeah, this is what the book is about. But it's very like this, just different outlooks, you know. It's like just getting understanding, like the knowledge, the well of knowledge is infinite. So like I just keep adding to it. So the more I know.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And it's something like melanin broken, when it's broken down, something like melanin based or something like that.
Also.
Melanin based? It could, okay, related to the melanin in the body?
I'm not saying like, of course, you know, alchemy is like, you know, suit that's everything's gold. I was watching something with Bobby Hemmett, and I was watching something about Bobby Hemmett, and he broke it down, but for some reason it's not clicking in my head. So he broke out, he broke all it down. I forgot what he had to say.
As far as alchemy and alchemical process and certain things, it's really like, it's like to change one state into something else. And I watched it's a cartoon called Full Metal Alchemist.
What?
Right. And this cartoon is very deep if you know what you're watching, because you could look at it as a cartoon. It's an anime as well. Cartoon. And it's deep. So that the laws of alchemy states that you can't get nothing without giving something of equal in exchange. In exchange to get something, you gotta give something. And I feel like alchemy is like, if that's a law of alchemy, it's kind of, it fits, because you really can't become good at something unless you give that amount of energy to become good. You can't become master unless you spend the time being a student. So alchemy probably is just, I studied alchemy a little bit when I was like 17, just trying to look it up on the internet.
Okay. So what will bring you out to a lecture like this?
Ryan, my friend Ryan on school, and we always just had like really good conversations.
Is he here?
Nah,
he's coming. He always like,
oh, Rock Rim. Oh yeah.
That's my like.
Oh y'all, he's like y'all in that cycle.
Yeah.
He was thinking about he might take his initiation into the order today. So we'll see. And this is Brother Kyle. We finally meet. What will bring you to a lecture like this?
Just for fun. I just want to meet people, you know.
All right.
Keep it real.
Hey, some people come for the food. I used to have a circle like this at my house every Friday night in Philly, and some people would come for the food. And when I lived with my Cheikh, I lived in West Africa for 2 years studying with the master. And the master had he had 2 gatherings at his house, which was interesting. Every Friday night he had a gathering, and the Friday night gathering would be in a room like this inside of his house. And the master Cheikh would be splitting atoms. Albert Einstein would be like, who the hell is this black man on this couch? The Friday night talk would be inside his house for just an inner circle of disciples. And he would say, if you got tape recorders under your clothes, turn them off. This teaching is not for the public. It's only for people in my living room today. And then Saturday night, he would give a teaching outside with like 3,000 people. Had to block the street off every Saturday, and he'd be feeding all the people. And one of the disciples came to the Cheikh and said, Cheikh, it's a lot of people. Young guys come here just to eat the food, and then they leave. They don't stay to hear the teaching. They just come for the food. What should we do? The master said, don't bother them young boys. Because in that time, people like Wu-Tang Clan in West Africa, you're talking about people coming to the Sufi gathering in Africa with a Wu-Tang Clan t-shirt on, some Timbs, a backpack, some saggy jeans, and he's in West Africa, and I'm dressed like this. Like, wait a minute. The Cheikh said, don't tell them to go. People said, what? He said, I know they coming for the food. Let them eat. He said, but one day while they're eating, perhaps a word will enter into their ear and spark their heart to want to stay. So some people come to meet people. Some people come for the food. Some people come for realization. What will bring you to a gathering like this?
Ryan. He invited me.
Ryan on fire. Shout out to Ryan for real.
Shout out to Ryan. Also, it's been me, you, and the Fed. And what's your spiritual background? What do you study?
I'm into truths and rights. I'm into learning whatever Ryan has to offer, and he's all about spirituality, so that's why we're clear on his set.
For Ryan. And the Grand Sheikh, what will bring you to a lesson like this?
Well, I came here specifically looking to get initiated. I've been for weeks now, Brother Omar has been promising me to go to Philadelphia. I'm like, when are we going to see the brother? When are we going to get initiated? I'm saying, that's a deep order. I can feel the energy from it is deep. I was actually born a medium. I'm still learning myself. I have all these great experiences in my life that I'm still trying to figure out. You know, I can smell things from thousands of miles away. You know, I can sense things. You know, sometimes things speak to me. You know, I can feel when someone working spiritual working. So, you know, I came here specifically knowing that this right here is going to help me to elevate. Matter of fact, I knew it was going to help me to elevate. So I came specifically seeking for initiations so that I can be guided, so that I can, you know, better heal myself and balance the masculine and feminine energies within myself, to use them so that I can live a more vibrant life, and as well as help others to live that lifestyle.
For the uplifting of fallen humanity. And the brother who organized the lecture.
Apparently, I'm here for Ryan.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's a talent.
This, there are many paths to God realization. Sister, what will bring you to a lecture like this? Okay.
Sorry, I'm late.
You know, perfect time. Perfect time. One of the mystics I know, she told me, there are as many paths to God realization as there are people. So every pathway to realization is not going to be the exact same for every person. This is the fine line, so to speak. There's a story of a man who came to see Siddhartha, the enlightened Buddha. And Buddha was, of course, a very enlightened being. And he sat with the Buddha. He had his best friend. His best friend took initiation to be a disciple of the Buddha. But he didn't take the initiation to join the order. And he got a chance to talk to Buddha directly. And Buddha said, now your friend is my disciple. He's joined our order of monks to take the Eightfold Path to enlightenment. But you did not take the initiation. Was there anything in my teaching that was flawed, or did you find a flaw in my doctrine that caused you not to take initiation? He said, no, there was no flaw in the wisdom of the Buddha. Everything you said was exactly the way it is. But your teaching cannot give me what you experienced while you were sitting under that tree alone by yourself. Did you hear? So I represent a living master and a tradition of enlightenment coming from ancient Africa through the holy city of Tuba. But our teaching is older than West Africa. It's the exact same teaching that they had in the ancient Kemetic mystery school. It's the exact same teaching that went into Tibet in the Buddhist monasteries. The exact same teaching that you find in India in the caves with the sadhus wearing all orange. It's the exact same teaching that you would get if you were in a Kabbalistic school of Kabbalah with a Jewish rabbi. It's the exact same teaching you would have got if you sat with Noble Drew Ali in person. Exact same teaching you would have got if you was with Master Fard Muhammad. What happens is there's only one God, there's only one school, there's only one prophet or guru, and there's only one teaching. But that teaching, when it goes into China, it sounds like this. That teaching, when it goes into ancient Kemet, it sounds like this. That teaching, when it goes to Tibet, it sounds like this. That teaching, when it comes to America, the black man is God, it sounds like this. But it's the exact same teaching because Allah, Jalal Jalaluhu, Lord of the universe, is one. Some call Allah Yahweh. Some call Allah Brahman. Some call Allah Om. But it's the same being that is actually sending the same being to the same being. The same prophets and avatars that came in the past have to have a representative here on the planet Earth in 2018 that's a God-realized being, or else it wouldn't be fair for people like us who want this teaching. You see what I'm saying? So this teaching is traveling through time. If I take some water from this and pour it in this, and then take that water and pour it in that, what's in there? The same water that was in the first one, right? What I'm teaching, or what was given to me by my master, Serene Salihu, is very ancient. It's very ancient. It is what we call the original school of alchemy. And this alchemy, Allahu la ilaha illahu al-hayyul qayyum, la ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm, lahu ma fi samawati wa ma fil ard. من الذي يشفع إنه إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. This alchemy is something you can feel. What do you feel when I recite that? What do you feel? Vibration. Sound. Divine current. The shortest distance between you and realization is the sound current. This is universal teaching. Sound and light is pure teaching. Different countries chanting different sounds. Om Hong Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hum. Om Hong Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hum. Om Bhuva Swaha Om Tat Sabato Pranayam Vargo Dimeshadi Mahidyo Yonat Prachodayat. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you find something in every tradition, Hail Mary, Mother of God. Even the Catholic nuns and priests got some beads chanting the rosary. Now hold up, wait. The guy in India is chanting Hare Krishna. The guy in Tibet is chanting Om Mani Padme Hum. The Muslim in Africa is chanting La ilaha illallah. And the Catholic priest and nun is chanting the Lord's Prayer or the Hail Mary. What's the universal principle in all of this? What would you say is universal in all of these traditions?
God is one God.
It's one God. Which practice is universal? What? The chanting. Chanting. Hare Krishna said, chant and be happy. Like, wait, chant and be happy. Is it really that simple? Chant and be happy. Prophet Muhammad said, say La ilaha illallah and be successful. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. In every tradition that's based on God realization, the universal principle is the sound current, the chanting of a mantra or a zikr, or in ancient Egypt, it was called hakal. Hakal was ancient Egyptian incantation of words of power. In Sufism, we call it zikr. In the Bible, it said in the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God. Wait, the Word dwelt amongst people and became flesh. Ooh.
So be the Word.
That word that you're reciting can dwell with you and become what we used to call God body. That science that you, the words you're reciting can change your consciousness. The words you're reciting can raise your vibration, raise your energy. So when you look at alchemy, they say alchemy was the science of turning base metals into gold. Alchemy, the science is, I got some copper, I want to turn this copper into gold. What that is really saying is that the base metal or the copper is your human nature, your human qualities and characteristics. The gold is the names and qualities of Allah, Brahman, Shiva, of the deity that you're worshiping. So if you're practicing alchemy, you're changing your lower self or lower nature into its original state of purity before the allegorical fall of man, back to a divine state before leaving that higher plane of consciousness. And all of this is done by the sound current, because sound takes you inwardly to the light. If you didn't hear anything from Cheikh Sufi today, the sound you are chanting will take you inward, Noble Drew Ali says the closest place to me in Allah is the heart. We heard these teachings. How can I get inside my heart? This your boyfriend, I'm sure. You started thinking about him a lot, right? You thought about him one too many times, he ended up in your heart. What if you thought about Allah until Allah was in your heart? You see what I'm saying? If I can think, man, I need a new cell phone. I be thinking about getting a cell phone, man. I'm thinking about getting a cell phone. The more I think about that cell phone, the more I'm attracting that by the power of my mind through the law of attraction to have this cell phone. So the mystic said, I will take a sound current. I will take a name of God. I will take a mantra. And I will say that word until it becomes the very fabric and nature of my being. I will take a word of power, a word from a higher dimension. The only thing that can take you out of the matrix is something from outside of the matrix. Only thing that can take you out of the matrix is something from outside of the matrix. So you have to have a master that's outside of the matrix, and the master can give you words of power that can raise your consciousness from this third dimension. We're on the physical plane. We must travel to the higher dimension of the soul plane by increasing our vibration. And from the soul plane, we travel on to the spirit plane. And from the spirit plane, we go into a state of oneness with Allah, the deity. And all this is done by chanting. It's universal. Chanting the divine words, names of Allah, is the red sulfur or the mercury in the alchemy. In the alchemical equation, there has to be a enzyme or a coenzyme or catalyst giving that equation the energy to function. The catalyst for your realization is the word power, the sound. My master in Africa said this. He said, as soon as somebody signs up or says, I want to recite God's names, as soon as somebody makes the intention to recite the words of power, the master said, you already signed a contract to become a God-realized being. Because the result of this is you become what you're saying. Somebody asked me, they said, Cheikh, you give us these names to recite, are we calling on a being that's outside of ourselves? I said, no. The Allah that we're calling is actually your true self. When you're calling these divine names, it's like saying, hey, wake up. Wake up. What's your name, brother? Michael. Hey, Michael. Wake up. Michael. Wake up. When you're calling Allah's name, you're waking up the deity inside of yourself that's already there. One thing I like about our teachings is the Sufi path is not about adding something that's not there. Our path is about removing the blockages that you got from society that's preventing that light of Allah from shining in you as you. Because God, Allah is already, this sister is God. Some people say, I want to take a journey to Allah. I'm like, okay, it sounds good, but journey implies there's somewhere to go. Journey also implies that there's two separate beings that become one. Our school is saying, no, there's no journey. You already are Allah. You just have to remove the dualistic mindset of duality, which says, I am here and God is here. They taught us that God was in the sky. Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we looked for that mystery God in the sky. We couldn't find him. We searched for that mystery God. We couldn't find him. So the Sufi said that Allah that they were seeking in the heavens, well, if Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you.
He said God's closer to you than your vein.
The Holy Quran said Allah is closer to you than your jugular vein.
Your jugular go.
So the practice we give is called zikr. And zikr means to. Which one?
When you tell them about the zikr, how it works, like cooking.
Oh, cooking the rice. Oh yeah. Oh man, this is a good. A Sufi is a storyteller. It's almost like a griot. What I'm teaching is not written in the book nowhere. It's an oral tradition that travels through time, and a lot of times the teaching will travel in a story. Because if somebody can remember the story, you can tell the story to your daughter, to your son or your daughter. Your son and the daughter, they like the story, but the teaching is inside of the story. So the teacher said that reciting the names is like cooking rice. How many people know how to make rice? Unless it's that minute rice in the bag, how long do it take for rice to be done? 25 minutes. What happens if you put that rice on the stove for 5 minutes and then try to eat it?
All the smoke.
It ain't right. What happens if you just put the rice in there and don't put the water, and then you let the rice just sit on there and then you try to eat that rice without putting the water? What happens? Burn. Cooking the rice is a certain method. Letting the rice cook for a certain time period. The master said when you take God's name or you take the zikr or you take the practice, it's like cooking rice because people expecting the result without putting in the time. Or they're expecting the result without following the alchemy is a science that can be reproduced. This is not about your belief system. This is saying no matter where you go, if you have one hydrogen and two oxygens, you got water. H2O is water wherever you go. So this is saying reciting the certain names of God over a certain mathematical time or system can give you the same result if you're in Australia, if you're in Africa, if you're in Europe, if you're in Tibet, the same practices should work. So the system is about removing your blockages to being God. Because if the water is already in there, all you gotta do is, some people are like, man, the water ain't coming out, what's the hell? I can see the water, but you can do this all day. The water ain't coming out, but until you take this top off, it's certain practices you have to do to produce a certain result. And these practices should be universal. It should be able to be repeated regardless of place or time. Any questions? If it can't be repeated, it's not universal. If it only works in Africa, it ain't universal. If it only works if I go to India, you should be able to become God right here in Brooklyn. You shouldn't have to go. That would be fair. Oh man, I gotta go to Africa to get these things. What if I ain't got the money? Allah can come to you in a bathroom at a nightclub. Man, I was DJing in a nightclub. A guy came in there and wrote La ilaha illallah on a note card and said, brother, you doing good, but this is what you need. I'm DJing in a reggae club now. Rastafari Selassie, the first rewind selector. Killing the game. 5%. Flag on in the name of Allah, thinking I'm God body. Muslim guy come in there, yeah, you seem like you got something, but this is what you need, young brother. Luke man from California, he gonna give me a note card, gonna write on the card, La ilaha illallah. He's like, just say this. La ilaha illallah. I'm looking at La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. I left and didn't even finish my shift that night. I was like, I can't, what the hell is this La ilaha illallah? You can hit it hit me like some good weed, excuse me, but it hit me like, what is this La ilaha? La ilaha illallah was the first prayer I got, and it's actually the one that's the highest one. It got 7 syllables. La ilaha illallah. 7 syllables, 7 levels of the soul, 7 levels of the chakra. And La ilaha illallah is the masculine and feminine principles of God. It's the yin and yang in one prayer. La ilaha is saying everything is an illusion, which would be the yin or the negative aspects of the deity. And illallah is saying God is the only reality, which would be yang. So in these 7 syllables, you have the yin and yang principles, masculine and feminine principles of the universe inside of one prayer. And you think I can go back in the DJ booth and keep DJing? And he just wrote that. I was messed up. I had to go home, man. I started reciting that La ilaha illallah and left my body, traveled into a world of light, like Star Wars on the first night. I was like, I'm shook from one prayer, La ilaha illallah. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I had a similar experience like that.
Please share.
At a party, and it's like, I don't do wrong anymore. And in the midst of drinking and everything is stopped.
Yeah.
It's like calling you in. Calling you in.
Yeah. I was DJing in a nightclub with a black army fatigue jacket on. I can still remember with the 7-pointed star, Nation of God's on Earth, 7 crescents on the back. Super fly, but this brother's gonna write something on a note card. I didn't have no mantras. I didn't have no words of power. I had all this philosophy from books.
What about the mathematics and the alphabet?
Oh man, was the master of the mathematics and the divine alphabet. English C lesson 120. My name is Master Farah Muhammad. I came to North America by myself looking for my uncle who just does not know that he's my uncle. All this. Okay. But I didn't have no words of power. So the Sufi says, bring whatever school of thought you're studying. Take the initiation into the order. Take the words of power. Study what you're studying, but recite the words for realization. Because you have to have some knowledge to give you what we call the right viewpoint or right thinking or right knowledge. The right viewpoint has to be there along with the practices. Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah, this is like kind of half on topic, but I read this book of Gora and all that. You know, they meditate and they chant like in the cemeteries and stuff over that, but like certain.
Oh, the Ogori Babas.
Yeah. So.
Oh, Lord,
Exactly.
Don't look that up. Don't say that word again.
Okay.
Extreme left-hand path.
Yeah, but but like when I search stuff up and stuff like that, like some stuff do like they drink like alcohol, they take like psychedelics and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on that?
By any means necessary.
Okay.
Whatever it takes to get to God, I don't give a damn what nobody said in no Western society. You think them shamans in South America drinking that ayahuasca with that DMT ain't having a real experience?
Oh yeah, no, for real. Yeah.
What? Let's be real. In every story, there's a tree somewhere. The tree is symbolic of some plant medicines. One of the shamans said, people in the West go to church and sing to God. The shaman in the forest takes some plants and becomes God. I was like, oh, wait, that's kind of, what you want to go? You want to go and just sing to God, or you want to take some plants and become God? So once you get the right medicines,
Pull up a chair, open up the circle.
if you can find the right medicine with the right shaman, you can get a higher level of realization, but you're going to need the practices to make that experience permanent. Yeah, you're going to need the practices. It looks like Rod Grimm has entered the door. Your name precedes you. So, does anybody else have any other questions? Shamil, assalamu alaikum, good to see you.
Nice.
All right, what a blessing to see a brother in our order practicing.
Anybody? Nobody behind, everybody together.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
How do you take within, you have nature, and within nature you have plants, you have water, you have all these elements, and I come to the realization that these elements live in your body. So how do you so are you saying that just by just chanting will be one with all that?
A master is a master of the 5 elements, earth, fire, water, air, ether, inside of the self. If you have earth, fire, water, air, ether relating to the formation of a 5-point star, and these 5 elements are related to different sounds. Some sounds are more earthy, some sounds are air, some sounds are water, some sounds are fire. In the Arabic alphabet, there's 28 letters. 7 of the letters are fire letters, 7 of the letters are water letters, 7 of the letters are earth letters, and 7 of the letters are air letters. So when you're chanting in this Arabic language, you're manipulating the elements by the sound current. And it's actually designed to unify these 5 elements inside of yourself, forming the 5-point star. Just by, listen to this. Faja shum zaza khazum, 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 faja shum zaza khazum. These syllables have a physical effect on the water molecules. Sound affects water. The body is at least 70% water. In the Arabic system, some of the letters are sun letters and some of the letters are moon. So you're tapping into the power of the elements, the power of the sun, and the power of the moon just by chanting the words in Arabic. I love what
the 6-point star. And like dealing with like the star table or like the
So in the progression, the 5-point star and the 6-pointed star represent two types of being. You become a 5-point star when you master the 5 elements within yourself. The 5-point star is a representation of a God-realized being. But once you become a 5-pointed star, you can go from the 5-pointed star to the 6-pointed star, which means now you have control over the heavens and the earth by the words you are saying at the vibratory rate that they need to be said. Like 6-point star is 2 triangles, 180 degrees going up, 180 going down, is 360 degrees. 5-pointed star is 72 degrees on each order angle. 5 times 72 is 360. Each one is a representation of the circle, but each one has different powers, so to speak. The person at the 5-point star can give initiation and make other masters, but they might not have the power of what we call kun faya kun, to speak something into existence with the power of the word. But all of this is obtainable through practice throughout time. I love these questions. Anybody else have another question?
I have a question.
Yes.
Let's say that you feel that you're not 100% enlightened, but you have influenced your environment just by your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just by projecting something, thinking something, and it comes to pass. What about that? I did that. You know, I would say things and they come to pass. That's why some people tell me, don't say that because you bring light to it. So people tell me, like, you know, people would accuse me of being a word sorcerer just because I was saying things, and, you know, so I've learned that that's actually true. So now I learned to like control my fire and to say things, good things, but only use the fire for defense.
There's a verse in the Holy Quran where Allah says, Allah speaks things into existence. Allah speaks things into existence. So the word is sound, and sound has an effect on the atoms of the physical realm. So this is very possible where you can speak things into existence through the chanting of the words, but also the mind. The Buddhists say mind is the forerunner of all events. Mind is the forerunner of all events. And a master is a master of thoughts, words, and actions. If you didn't learn anything today, a master is a master of thoughts, words, and actions. This will take time because you have a conditioning in the subconscious mind to see duality. We've been programmed to see others, to separate things in categories. So the reprogramming of the mind by the words is taking you from a dualistic mindset to a mindset of oneness. One student asked the master, how can we help the others? The master said, there are no others. The fact that you think that there's others, you're still in a dualistic, it's me and Ramel, it's me and the sister, it's me and the Cheikh, it's me and Brother Mahat. One Sufi master said, I spent 30 years talking to Allah, and the disciples thought I was talking to them. I spent 30 years talking to God, but y'all thought I was talking to you. Allah is the one speaking, and Allah is the one with the toothpick listening. How can we get to this point where you realize if you want to hear some real metaphysics, how about the idea that you're the only one in existence and everyone else in this room is a figment of your imagination? You created all these people. What kind of weed he smoking? Damn. Did he just say, did I just say that you're the only reality and you wanted some friends to come along so you created this in your mind and projected this holographic image so you could be God? No. Allah is the only reality. So the master don't see sins. The master don't see negative. These damn people lied to us. There ain't no such thing as no punishing God in the sky, punishing people for sins. That's some first grade bullshit. Don't steal, I slap your hand. Some people need that. Ain't no God in the sky judging people. You creating your own reality based on your thoughts and actions. Karmic law, if you put trash out, trash coming back. If you put vibrations of God out, the vibration of God is coming back. This is a science. Ain't nobody punishing you. Ain't nobody making nothing happen to you but you. But people don't want that kind of responsibility. There gotta be some guy in the sky somewhere. Maybe I can get him to help my situation. Nigga, do something for yourself. Stop it. What they say, would you wait on God to bring you food, clothes, and shelter? Now I'm sorry for God. I wouldn't wait on Allah to bring me food, clothes, and shelter. That's why Allah say, if you take one step to Allah, Allah take 10 steps to you. You have to take the action and do the practices. The Cheikh ain't nothing but a pharmacist. I give you medicine. If you practice it, that's on you. Man, you didn't drink none of the water. I'll give you practices. You have to practice it to be God. Or you just sit it in your notebook and say, well, I went to see this guy with a funny hat and the maroon robe, some black man on the picture. He gave me some words. It was nice. I think I'm going to go back to watching some porn. It's a lot easier. It can happen. It can happen. Praise don't happen to nobody in here. If you come to a circle like this, you are so close to the goal, it would be hard to imagine what a meeting like this could mean in your life. You're talking to somebody that sat with somebody that sat with Allah directly. Hold up, wait a minute. Let me put my foot in it. You talking to somebody that's seen Allah in person and talked to this being, an avatar in person, and got direct connection to an avatar from Africa in a library in Brooklyn. You did something right to get that. Whatever you did in your life, your karma is A1 credit. Nigga, give me the house for free. I ain't putting no money down. If you in here talking to me, after who I done talked to, you like, this could be your last incarnation. Do you know what that means? Did this motherfucker say this could be my last incarnation? That's why I curse. I don't give a what, no. I'm not coming back. I'm done. I'm like the guy who drank one too many drops of alcohol. I'm out. I'm not coming back. So people would say, one guy watched my videos on YouTube. He called me and said, Cheikh, I like your videos, but man, you said a few curse words. What do you think about Muslims shouldn't be cursing? I said, damn, Muslims shouldn't be cursing and shit. That ain't cool. He said, oh, I get it now. He said, you don't really care what people think about you. Nah, nigga. I don't want nobody to put me up on no pedestal. So I gotta say something so the Muslims could say, oh, he ain't got no, one brother said, oh, you ain't got no enlightenment. I'm glad. I'm like, I'm glad. Let me curse again, nigga. Don't come around me. What I got is contagious. It's not limited by your dogma and what you think is correct. I'm beyond duality. What? A master is beyond what you think is good and evil. I got some disciples from the countries in Alabama. We went to country in Alabama with my disciples, all of us dressed like this now. We're going to some trailer parks where they got a few pigs and chickens out there. We walk up in there with the man's family, mother and grandfather, cousins. Me and the brothers dressed like this with these beads in this trailer park in Alabama in the country. They looking at us like we some damn aliens from outer space. What am I supposed to say to these people? First thing I said, looked at the dude's uncle, you got some moonshine? He said, what? I said, yeah, man, I always wanted to drink some moonshine. I know y'all got it. Where is that? Oh, man, we got the best moonshine in the back. 1 second. He went and got this clear bottle, gallon. We started drinking with them. Everything I said, they accepted it. I could have told them God was a blue cow with green polka dots, and he smokes in a blunt. They were like, oh, man, you're right. You got to find a way to get past whatever's blocking you, to get to the people. Because them people, they need to hear this message. If I would sit there like I'm some Muslim guy, all righteous and pious, if I ain't drink no moonshine with them, you think they would have listened to me? The clothes has already got them shook. You got a black man on a necklace and you ain't got no white guy on the necklace? They already like, hold up, man, this is some cold stuff right here, man. You're going to have me believing black is beautiful? Man, that's the best moonshine I ever drank. Then people, we start chanting la 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 in the trailer park. Come on. This is Jedi mind trick. Yeah.
So, say there's no, the only reality is law. The only reality is reality calls itself law, law. But, that's my choice. The Quran, very similar to what we see in ancient Kemet, describes a judgment process post-death, that you will see your deeds in the book of deeds, that your actions will be weighed, right? I don't understand, if there's one being, yet your actions are weighed. I read a quote from Prophet Muhammad where he said, at the end of my journey, I discovered that I was he and he was me, yet he was he and I was I.
What if I told you the key thing is you will see all of your deeds? And what if I told you you was the one judging yourself?
It's funny that you say that, right? Because in like in some of the teachings, it says that like your limbs will speak out against you on the day of Yom Kippur, right? But like that's really a statement that's really true in all actuality, because it's like a kid, you see a kid with powder on his lips and he's like, nah, I didn't eat the donut. But you looking like, yo, it speaks out against you. Or like if you got the sickness from doing something for so long and you saying you wasn't doing it, but your limbs is already saying that you did, I don't even really have to listen to what's coming out of your mouth.
The one judging you is you. The one judging you is you. One of Allah's 99 names is Al-Hakam, the judge. If you are Allah and you are, Wu-Tang Clan said, excuse me, miss, how can I not be God? The one judging you is you, because the human being is, Prophet Muhammad says, the human being is asleep, and at the time of death they will awake. The human being is asleep, and at the time of death, you will awake. So right now, it's not easy to see the concept that I am God is a good concept. But a lot of people don't really believe that. They say, oh, it's a concept. Get me some vegetarian girls, you know. I put on the ark and get me some beads. They'll like me. It be like that, man. Like, yo, in Atlanta, if you ain't no vegetarian, you're going to be by yourself. There's a religion down there. So it's really hard for somebody to really conceive the fact that the Buddhists go so far and say all this is empty. Emptiness is form and form is emptiness. The Buddhists would say, wasn't nobody in there, y'all ain't had no meeting. Y'all wasn't in there talking. That was all illusion in your mind. If you study the 99, Allah has 99 attributes. If one of Allah's qualities is Al-Hakam, and that being that gives you life is Allah, then that judge, that quality of judge is actually coming from your true self. Nobody don't have to tell you right from wrong. Your whole life, because it's yours, it's you. It's no being outside of you judging you, it's you judging you. You know if you shouldn't have ate that candy in the 5th grade. You knew, one of the sheikhs told me, one of my sheikhs, he's Naqshbandi sheikh, he told me, pay attention to your heart. He said, anything that makes your heart move is the devil. He said, if it makes your heart jump, that's the shaitan, that's the devil. He said, if it's okay with your heart, it's okay with Allah. What is he really saying? It comes from your heart. You know. The Holy Quran says Islam is the Deen al-Fitr, meaning Islam is the way of life based off of the nature of the human being. So this way of life of Islam is your nature. It's in my DNA. Islam is in my DNA. Do you have a question or comment? Yes.
I was just reflecting on what you were saying about we can become God, and I think that sometimes I think it's very important to state that, but in the same breath, I think that with certain populations, my family comes from the Watergate Muhammad community, son of Elijah Muhammad, and I'm affiliated with the Tariqa Tijanians as well. But I think that it can give some people a God complex to say that, I can become one with God, and that's why some Muslims they go crazy when you say that. And you're talking about God realization, and that's the goal of Islam. That's really the goal of Islam, though. God realization. But we just have to be careful because I think most people make no headway in life because we have an exaggerated picture of ourselves. We shit, we have sex, we're animals. We're human animals. So although we can rise to God, we can also very easily, with thin line.
Yeah.
With this, one decision, we can
this is in the Quran.
Lower ourselves to demons.
In the Quran, Allah says, I created you in the highest of high, but you descended to the lowest of lows. One of the Sufis, he told me, be careful with knowledge of self. Be careful with knowledge of self, because with knowledge of self comes the ego. You can get knowledge of self and say, all Asiatics is better than everybody else. Oh, now you into the duality thing again. You still got trapped. It's not about your race, your religion, your nationality, or your color. It's about God realization, straight no chaser. Is what you're receiving going to transform you back into your original state of Allah before the allegorical fall of Adam? If it's going to transform you, keep it. If it's just philosophy and dogma, it's only temporary. You need a teaching that will transform you back into your original state of avatarhood, of God being, God woman, God man. And this teaching has to be a a science that can be reproduced. Yes.
Can I ask what may come out as a controversial question? Because I keep hearing different thoughts and concepts going around, and it's all high, it's all positive. But I believe what you're conveying and what the sister's conveying is that the goal itself is God's realization. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
So then, that being the goal, we would, I guess, enter the pursuit of that goal, or traveling the path toward that goal, or arising to that goal from wherever we happen to be. Is that right? So with that in mind, would you give us your idea of what God realization is? Because if that's the goal, and I'm certainly not disputing that it's the goal, but it perhaps would help to hear you elaborate some more. Then we can look at where we are, perhaps, and then be able to gauge how we might ascend to that position.
Can I respond before you respond?
Yeah.
Were you at you were there when the brother spoke, who's in the nation, and he's the Calaria in Brooklyn?
Yes.
And he said in response to that question, when you went to the bathroom, you missed it, he said, it would be like trying to describe the taste of chocolate to someone who's never had chocolate. That it's an experiential thing. And in the Masnavi, Rumi says, it's like you were telling an embryo that when they leave the womb, what the world is going to be like. And
all right. Well, to the extent that we're all discussing it, we're all coming from all different perspectives. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad I've read that he once said that we should know the English language well, because she knows all about you. So we're sitting here, I wouldn't count how many of us are in. Here's maybe 20, 30 of us in here, something like that. But in the essence, reality is there's only Allah in essence of one. The point I'm making is that to the extent that there is a duality, and I don't believe we could make the argument that there isn't one, we can just approach an understanding of what that duality is, seemingly opposed to what the oneness is. But there is a manifestation of Allah in a multitude of things, from the most minute grain of sand to the heavens above. So there are these things that would at least appear to be outside of us. So then it would be helpful then to zero in more on the language we use that helps us to approach understanding the concepts better. For example, to say to raise your vibration, what would we say that means? To raise your vibration. Isn't it the frequency that we're talking about? Because it isn't like vibration going from here to here. But vibration is actually a speed. Would that be accurate to say that?
Yeah.
So if we're talking about raising it, we're talking about hyping it.
So make it move fast. Because when vibrations are this up.
Everything in this room is vibrating.
Right.
Including this floor, including the things that appear to be solid. If we were to take a microscope to them, at a molecular and atomic level, we see that there's tiny particles moving at a very rapid rate, almost mirroring the solar system. Right. So then it becomes, in my humble opinion, it becomes an idea of understanding some of the language that we speak. So if I was to say to raise something up, which way would we say up would be? No, really. Wouldn't we go like that? Isn't that up? Wouldn't we say that? We wouldn't say this is up, right?
Relative to our position.
Is the reality of the concept? Because if you're on the other part of the planet and you point up, you'd be pointing that way.
Right.
So the point I'm making is that there are concepts that have to be taken into consideration and understanding the language we use. Even the word like reality.
I think
I don't want to, brother, I just wanted to share some of that.
Yeah.
I think the duality part, it's like, it's an illusion that really exists. And I feel like, from my understanding, I watched a video, it gave me a good understanding. It's on the Hermetic teachings and whatnot. So it's like the duality, even if you deal with God and you're dealing with becoming God, whatever the case may be, it's like good and evil, right? or hot and cold. You can use hot and cold. At which point does like something hot becomes cold? Well, at what point? So at that point in the middle, whatever the case is, that's God. The whole thing is one. Hot and cold is just really one thing. It's a feeling, but it's still one. Meaning like it's
Right. Can I use the example of H2O? Right? We know that H2O comes in the form of solid, liquid, and gas.
Right.
The difference between those three states is one of frequency. The liquid will freeze into a solid at 32 degrees and below.
Right.
It will turn into a gas after boiling at 212 and above. Three states of the same reality, and there are states beyond those three.
No, see, that's the alchemy. Yeah, that's the alchemy. You just broke it down. That's the alchemy. Yes.
I think a lot of God realization, for me at least, is a knowledge of self, knowing why you do what you do, seeking your soul inside out, and it can get bloody, you know, really just taking a naked look at yourself, you know what I mean, and being able to make the right decisions in life, knowledge of self. And I think that as Sufis, we're always seeking the spotless purity of the heart. And even if you think you've reached God realization, you should take a couple steps back, you know, balance that hope with fear and humility with confidence, and think that, you know, not to doubt yourself, because doubt is a disease. Just always remain humble and just hope for more flowerings of the heart.
Anybody else?
Well, something she said. I think it's indeed. We pray for yakin, certainty, right? And so I'm at the point that most of us, like most human beings, or don't believe or believe, but aren't certain. You know? And so is God realization, is that related to certainty, to know, to not just believe, but to have experiential contact?
I'll give you a concrete example. It is a knowing. It's a sense of knowing and certainty, what we call yakin. I was with one of my masters. He was a God-realized being, Sufi master in the holy city of Tuba. And one day he told me we were going to visit another Sufi at his house, kind of far away. So we needed a taxi. We needed a ride. So he told me, stand on the side and stop a car. Because in that city, people give you rides for free. They're just, oh, which way you going? Get in, we'll take you. In the Cheikh city. Real utopian society. So I stayed on the road. Hey, he just stared back watching me. About a half hour go by, nobody stopped me. He said, stand back. Shake. He stand up. Went like this. The car pulled over immediately. And I'm like, I got on African clothes too. How do they know the guy who pulled over? Where are you going? I'm going to let's say I'm going to J Street. The driver said, oh, I'm going to J Street. And I'm like, what? He going to the same place? He said, I'm going to like 356 J Street. The driver said, oh, I'm going to 4000 J Street, couple houses down. Come on, let's go. And I'm looking at this manifestation system like 20 cars that went past me. He's standing up, the first car, bam, going to the same street we're going to, about 15, 20 minutes away. The guy literally dropped us off at this house, drove down, I saw it, a couple houses, and parked the car and got out and went in the house. I was like, so I asked the Cheikh, I said, hey, I want my sandwich as big as his. I said, what is the difference between me getting a car and you getting the first? He said, you had doubts that they would stop. He said, I knew they was gonna stop. He said, and Sufi is, if you doubt, you out. He said, I knew not the first car. He didn't even say slide, he just went like this. And I'm like, and I got my prayer beads, I got the hat, I got the book, I got the cuss. What's up, man? He said, you didn't believe they would stop. I did. This is certain level of yaqeen and certainty in it, like, nobody can tell you what God realization is like, but they might be able to give you some indications and signs of what a God realized being should be like.
Would it be accurate to say that God realization is a goal and a destination? In one sense, there's not some place that you get. It's like you arrive and you're there, and that's it. Okay, I'm here. And then you continue.
Yeah.
Growth and realization.
Yes. There's a beautiful Buddhist proverb. The Buddhists say, before enlightenment, chop wood, and after enlightenment, chop wood. God realized being could be catching the subway train with you. What would you think if God came in here with some Nikes on, some jeans, and a blue t-shirt, and some braids? Would you believe that was... The God realized being has the quality of extreme stillness. A God realized being has an amount of stillness inside of them to where they're not wavering. Up one day, down the next day, up one day, down. The God realized being is extremely balanced in my eye.
Is one, this is totally hypothetical question. Is a baby born?
Yes.
With that inherent disability?
Yes.
And then social conditioning?
Yes.
Causes them to fall.
Yes.
They're born.
So what makes them?
I swear, I'm not making this up. I'm sorry. My daughter, she's 10 now, trying to get her pray now is like pulling teeth.
Mm-hmm.
When she was an infant, Allah is my witness, she would do zikr. She couldn't speak yet, but me and my wife, she would do zikr. She would get in her crib and do zikr and then fall over into salah and then go to sleep. And we were like, wow, this is incredible.
I'll give you exactly what happened. At those stages, you spent more time with her than everybody else. That's what's going on with the people, period. They drop their children at school 8 hours a day with a strain.
You're right, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? For what they feel is a good purpose to take care of the child.
What would the alternative be?
But we're not gonna start. That's not this discussion right now. That's not this discussion. I was just giving them what happened. That's a total political. That's totally different. We God realizing right now.
Okay. That's deep that you say that because now I'm thinking about it. I spent a lot of time with my son. He's like 6 months now. My daughter, when she was around his age, maybe a little older, but we spent a lot of time together on music. And I sort of taught my daughter how to beatbox because I was like beatboxing around her or whatever, and she just started doing it. Just started doing it. My son, I never did nothing with it. And he was like 4 months, and I'm listening to a beat or whatever. He just started beatboxing. And I'm like, nah, he ain't beatboxing. And then I had to play the next beat, beatbox again. Like 3, 4 more beats passed, nothing. That next beat that came on after that, started beatboxing again. And I'm like, nah, this ain't, nah. I go back to the first beat, he started beatboxing too, just to test it. He started beatboxing, so I'm like, nah, chill. So now that you say that, it just explains everything.
God get to see God, know how God supposed to be.
One of the signposts of approaching God realization is what we call the view to perfection. The God realized being realizes that everything in your life is perfect. If Allah can keep the 9 planets in orbit, keep the moon going around the planet Earth, and the planet Earth going around the sun, and the sun traveling through the 12 zodiac signs, if Allah can do that perfectly for billions of years, then everything in your lifespan was perfect, but your mind thinks it's other than perfect. Every heartbreak, pain, sickness, people dying, the God realized being sees only God. And God being perfect, everything, a flat tire is perfect. Getting fired from a job is perfect. How is all of this perfect? Because Allah is the source and essence of everything, and the substance of whatever you experience in your life, that's God. Whatever comes to you, say, hi, God, hi. Whatever comes to you, say, greet Allah. The fat lady eating a pork chop with blonde hair and blue eyes is still God. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, nigga. Not from what I've been told. How this fat white lady eating a pork chop praying that Jesus is going to be God? Well, didn't you say la ilaha illallah meant Allah is the only reality, but not for her? You're still in a small point of duality. Allah only sees Allah. God only sees God. Yes.
So if you got two people, two beings, and they both, could we see like wrong, or like saying like everything is perfect, right? But like an action of somebody under what I want for me, I want for my brothers. So I wouldn't want to say, you see somebody doing an act that's, and they are.
Now, what I'm saying is the highest state of realization. Nigga, don't be stealing nothing out of my house because you God. Them Timberlands is God, nigga. It's a thin line between love and hate. The hip hoppers say there's levels to this shit. There's levels to different 4 levels: Shariat, Tariqat, Hakikat, Marifat. In the Holy Quran, it says Islam is revealed in stages. If you're dealing in the physical plane, there is a law of yin and yang, right and wrong exists. From the plane of the mind down, there is right and wrong. Them priests shouldn't be having sex with them little boys. That's wrong.
So when we say that everything is perfect, so then maybe we could approach that. We all have our lives where some of us, I guess, say good days, bad days, or have what we think to be problems. I wouldn't necessarily associate a problem with being perfect in my life, but I probably might say it's as it should be.
Yeah.
It's in order, it's in balance, because to the extent that exists, if I gave some thought to it, I'll be able to trace it back to some origin, maybe something
it's still balancing somebody's
problem. The logical outcome of it. But then certainly everything is as it should be.
Yes.
So we can never fall from God because we are.
It's impossible to fall from God.
It's an expression I hear.
Yes.
So I ask, yes.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Impossible. I saw a church billboard that said, if God seems far away, who moves? Allah never moved from us, but our actions and thoughts and words might be able to take us away from God. But the mystics have went so far to say this: the person who thinks they're close to Allah might be far away, and the person who thinks they're far away might be close. So even in what we call divine proximity, because Allah is beyond space and time, Allah is a being that exists in a state of pure, pristine consciousness, beyond the limitations of duality, time, and space. Allah is a being that is, that has existence. So the God awakened being realizes that everything is God, without the possibility of a yin aspect entering into your experience. Whatever, a God realized being, whatever happens, they say, Alhamdulillah. There's stories I can tell.
That's a God will.
Yeah, well, whatever happens in your life, say Alhamdulillah, all praises due to Allah. Yeah, whatever happens, thank God. Yeah, it's time. Okay. Yeah, we got it.
Can I relate one story from the Masnavi?
Yeah.
So in the Masnavi, he tells the story of the Prophet Muhammad is putting on the shoe. And an eagle comes by and snatches the shoe, takes it in the air. And everybody's like, you mean evil. And then the eagle drops the shoe and the snake crawls out. That's about fighting.
Oh, that was in the shoe.
Right. And so it's like, things that you may think were bad for you may actually be good.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, what is Sufism? Sufism is to be thankful in good times or bad, or whatever you perceive as good.
I mean, yeah. It's good, it's easy to say, oh, thank Allah for the good times. But the realized master thanks Allah for the so-called bad times. Because it's in the difficulty that you find your strength. I tell people it's easy to be Muslim in the mosque. It's easy to be Muslim in the mosque. Can I be Muslim when this old lady on the bus need a seat? You know what I'm saying? You got all these prayer beads, all this nice, but you got this lady standing up on the bus and you sitting down. Some things is just natural. But the being of Allah only sees God and is thankful for everything that comes in your life. And you start to see everything in your life as perfect. It had to be this exact people here today. Exactly. It could not have been another way. Yeah, we got about this. Okay. Okay.
Manifested someone time.
See? It's perfect. Perfect. Yeah, you have a question? Come on, share. Okay. Yes.
What does it mean to take bayat?
Taking the bayat is when bayat is an Arabic word that means initiation. And in Wolof, they call it Jabalu. Bayat is saying, Bayat means initiation, and it's saying, I want to take a pledge to be a disciple of the Cheikh and learn the alchemy that he's teaching for God realization of my soul and myself. Bayat is when someone says, okay, I done read enough books, I done seen enough videos on YouTube. I think it's water inside of this bottle. And I think if I listen to what he's saying or she's saying, I can figure out how to take this top off and get the water to come out of me. That's all it is. The bayat is someone who says, okay, I'm ready to try this path and see what will become of me as a result of the practices. I tell people, if you take initiation or bayat, I tell people, if you study with me for a year and you do the practices that I give you for a year, and if you don't look in the mirror and see a totally different person in the first year, leave it. Don't even call me. Don't come to another class. Some of my students that have been with me, they probably heard me say that before. Don't come to another lecture. If you're the same person, really, if you're the same person after the first 40 days, you didn't do what I asked you to do. Because the first practice is like nitroglycerin to negative karma. It'll change everything just from doing the 12,000 Bismillahirrahmanirrahim in the first 40 days, you're going to be different. Because the initiation is like.
What's the process for initiation?
Very good question. And hopefully we'll give initiations. Initiation for our order is 2 levels. It's 2 parts to initiation. The first part is the Shahada, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu Muhammad Rasulullah, which means I bear witness Allah is the only reality, Muhammad is the prophet of God. We give the Shahada to put everybody on the outside circle of Islam. Then the Bayat is actually, it's in the Holy Quran, but the Bayat is initiation that we give in Wolof. And in the initiation, I will say, you're saying, Sheikh Sufi, I give myself to you to be a disciple in this world and the next world. So you're saying, I want to take the initiation to be your student and learn what you have to teach me so I can become God for myself. And when I give that initiation, I'll say my name first, but then I take the initiation and I give it to the master that I took initiation with in Africa, who was the son of the founder of our order. So the initiation is basically saying, you have the ability to conduct electricity, and the initiation is plugging your socket into the wall or into the divine representative of Allah on the earth so that you can raise your own self. The Cheikh I can only give you the practices. I give you the initiation which links you to the masters in Africa, and I give you the practices that they gave me for God realization. And that's for somebody who says, you know what? I want to see how it works. And anybody who's been studying with me, if you practice it, it works. It's sounding like mantras, prayers, and another thing, I've been teaching Sufism for over 20 years now. I started teaching in 93, 94, I started teaching Sufism. I went to Africa in 96 and took initiation with my master. So I've been initiated since 96, but I was teaching before I even went to Africa. I thought I was teaching. So teaching for 20 years, I decided I have to formulate these teachings into a school that can produce other masters. So now I'm working with a few devoted students to form the Ancient Sufi Institute of Alchemy. The Ancient Sufi Institute of Alchemy is a 3-year study program that deals with the teachings for the mind, body, and the soul. You gotta have some Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, meditation in there. You gotta have the knowledge of herbology and herbalists in there. You gotta have the knowledge of alkaline diet, eating healthy, because the school that I'm formulating, the first classes will start in January. It's a school of alchemy, but it's for mind, body, and soul to have a complete triangle. Some people, vegetarian, vegan, good. They ain't got no minds, and they thinking negative. Some people thinking very positive, still eating at the buffet. So the school is like, we want to give you the principles of mastering the mind, body, and the soul, to master all three, to have the full, complete triangle. And that's what we're formulating, and it's going to start in January. But the initiation is for anybody who wants to take the first steps for the path. Yeah.
And what's like the backlash from like Sunni, the Shiites, and like?
Oh, they don't like me. That's fine.
What about the nation? And
oh, nation, the guys in Earth, I'm good with them. But then they still think it's a spook system.
But there is
not all of them.
Not all of them. Some of them. But I consider myself to be a 5%. My mom was raised in Asia. Muhammad was my first teacher. I ain't gonna never leave that. So take it or leave it. What? Peace to the God. No Arab told me about Islam. I was going to the Nation of Islam Temple in Indianapolis, Indiana, studying with the gods. Yeah, that was my first teacher. So then studied No One Do I Leave More Science Temple. Study everything. But when you find a Sufi master, for everybody in here, taking initiation is like you already building the pyramid. Now you got the capstone. You got the capstone of the pyramid with the practices to manifest what you already know to be true. That's what the initiation is. To get the practices to manifest what you already know to be true. Really, I should do more chanting than talking. It's supposed to be chanting today. What do you mean?
I'm going back to the book of deeds and weighing, and you say you're judging yourself. So I do a astaghfirullah. You can tell me
I do that too.
But just being honest, I'm not doing it without a question or doubt in my mind. And then the question is this: who am I saying astaghfirullah to?
The higher self and the lower self.
So, okay.
Everything is internal.
So I'm seeking to learn how to forgive myself.
It could be your lower self saying, astaghfirullah for being in this condition that I'm in. One of my teachers told me, and he screamed at me. Sufi masters are different people. One of the masters I studied with was intoxicated saint, talking to himself, looked like he's mumbling. And I forgot one day, he asked me, how are you doing? And I gave the answer, I'm doing okay. I forgot who I was talking to. The master said, how are you doing? I said, I'm doing okay. He said, no, you're not doing okay. You should be God by now. Did this man just scream at me? He's like, no, you're not doing okay. You should be God by now. You've been to Africa, you slept with those Cheikh, you've been doing the zikkers. You should be God by now. He gave me like a half-hour talk on why you're not manifesting God by now. This was over 10 years ago. So,
Brother Sufi,
yeah.
Is bayat different from shahada?
Yeah, shahada is to step into the realm of Islam. The bayat is saying, I found a sheikh of a Sufi order that I think can help me reach God realization. So I take initiation with them to receive a specific path. Now that I've got all these books on the table, I'm gonna take this pathway. I think this brother or this sister can help me get to where I'm going with the practices. So the bayat is different than the shahada, but I usually give them both together in case the person didn't already have an Islamic background. That's a great question. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Alright, so bayat is you have to take the shahada and then you do the bayat part, right?
That's how I generally do it in our tradition, yeah.
You then, okay, so if you take the shahada and you then perform ghusl before the still count?
Yes, yeah, it does. This man come with some
That's a good question.
Let me get on the floor.
What was that?
If you take shahada without having the ghusl, which is the spiritual bath, does it still count? And yes, it does. Ghusl is a matter of Islamic law. Some people say you can, after the initiation, it is good to take a complete bath tonight and formulate a pure prayer and intention for yourself, your family, and for what you want in a state of purity before you go out and do anything. A lot of times when people take initiation, I say, okay, now I want y'all to pray for yourself immediately and pray for the people here immediately with a pure intention. Because the initiation is so powerful. How many people would like to not have to be reincarnated and not have to come back here to planet Earth again? How many people would like that?
I don't know. I like her.
He's like, give me the blue pill.
Nah, it's not that. I definitely.
Back in the
I would like to just, if I could come back, that would be good.
The initiation is so powerful. The only way out of the matrix is to find a being who's outside of the matrix. The initiation is so powerful. When I give you the initiation, I ain't gotta never see you again. You ain't even really gotta do none of the practices. You take initiation, when your soul leaves the body, you're going directly to the light of Allah. The master's gonna come in the grave and take you up into the light directly, even if I never see you again. It's a link to Cheikh Ahmadou Bamba and Serene Sally on the plane of the soul. You will not come back to planet Earth. This will be your last incarnation. You found a being who's outside the matrix. The practices are for God realization. It's some people I gave initiation to, I don't even talk to them, I never seen them. I know for a fact when they leave the body, they ain't coming back. So you can take the initiation, go to the reggae club tonight and do what you want. Take the initiation, go to the reggae club and do the practices tomorrow. It's better. So initiation takes you outside of the laws of karma. You'll go back to being 7 years old in the spiritual world. I can give a whole initiation. Check out the Bible says somebody take initiation. It go from them. It go from to your mom, to her 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 mom. The initiation blessing goes 7 generations through your mother's bloodline. People you don't even know getting taken into the light by the master. Just from finding an avatar and doing an initiation. Now, what if you take initiation and then do the practices that I'm giving you? Any questions or comments?
You said, what if you take initiation and don't do the practices?
And you do the practices. What do you think will happen?
I guess it's gonna make your time on Earth easier.
Trying to be the smallest thing that'll make your time on Earth easier. Because it's gonna remove the negative karma.
From you, from the 7th generation to your mother, you do practices that automatically goes to the 7th generation to your father, and then the people around you, community, your family, it makes everybody around you. Like
and it comes out in your offspring if you practice it. It'll come out in them too.
I read somewhere, I forgot what it was, but they were saying that Jesus, Buddha, these people that was on the earth actually was the people that like either they came back to teach. Exactly. So that's like, so basically, or either they raised their vibration so high that they ascended. Mm-hmm. And they was like, they left Earth.
Yeah. But those masters, Sufi says always at least 313 masters on the planet Earth at all times. Always at least 313. 3 plus 1 plus 3 is 7. It's always at least 313 masters on Earth. And different religions, different traditions. It gotta be a realized being in Ifa in Nigeria somewhere. Gotta be. Gotta be a realized pygmy in Australia somewhere with a bone in their nose. Gotta be. Just so happens the one I met is a Muslim from West Africa, but that don't mean it ain't other ones. Yeah.
So I don't even know how to formulate the question, but that's something that you just said touched on a thought that I had, which is like I first became aware of God realized beings in South India, and I realized that there was like Krita Mutwa or Simeon Toko, who I recently learned about. So it's like, I guess like again, I don't know how to formulate the question, but how do you, if you take initiation under one, is it a contradiction?
No, the water in this one is the same water in that one. But people get confused by the out of, well, this is 12 ounces, this is 16 ounces, we gotta be different. It's water. It's the same.
It takes back to duality.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah, it's only one master, one teaching, one truth. Anybody who wants to make the initiation, we're gonna sit down and I'll give the initiation to you. Does anybody want to take initiation? We can sit right here, I'll give you initiation and the practice before they ask us to head out. So come and have a seat. Yeah, anybody who wants to come close. So we're going to do this. We'll say the prayer together. First one is in Arabic, the second one is Wolof. And in the prayer, I will ask you to say your name and your mom's name so that it goes through the right channels. And then we'll do a couple minutes of chanting until they ask us, till they took the lights. Y'all ready? Okay, say the prayers with me. Bismillah.
Bismillah.
Ir-Rahman.
Ir-Rahman.
Ir-Rahim.
Ir-Rahim.
Ashadu.
Ashadu.
And La,
La,
E, La,
La,
Ha, Il, Allah.
Allah.
Ashadu, and Muhammad, Dur, Ra, Su, Lula, Sheikh, Abdallah, Sufi, J, Bull, Nala, Sama, Bo, Adunya, Ak, Al, Akil, Rati, Chibake, Serene, Salihu, Sheikh, Ibra, Paul, Sheikh, Ahmadu, Bamba, Kadim, Rasul, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Salihu, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Salihu, Rabbi Ma Yashahu, Bija, He after the man that I cut the Jaha, Hamdi that I've been coming, La, Shirikalahu, was to be a young man, Muhammadun Salawatullah, if you ever need a very, and who is I, the Yaman White Illusion, so talking, Maria, as they do to the Avamana Kalamani, Taklima, Hadim, Makulina, Maria, Rahman, Havijam, your Kalki Rahman, Hukumata Mustafa, Kulima Sadati, Mata, Hamil Kalpa, Yaman, Damada, Yamalka Muki Amazon, Hawaii, Hampton, Yawala, Yahadi, and Yamalka Muki Amazon, Hawaii. Hamdini Awali Ahadi and the Mahatma Nahu Kalu Bidari Bijahi after the man he comes the please say your name and your mom's name.
Ryan Jeffrey, Campbell
White Cordy Lewis, Wadi Lewis, Manny and Alice Mubaran, Kid who walks into the Yan, Nomanasan Devu, Nomanasa Devu. Jilnasa Devalu, Mainasa Devalu, Sama Sling Sling Sali and Baki. We accept your initiation and we give your initiation to our Master Sling Sali and Baki. We're praying for you to reach the level of realization of the self and God in this lifetime, to become a light for your family and your peers, and to walk in the darkness in the form of light to bring others to the path. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, by the blessings of Sri Sari and Baki, Allah, Hayim Samalam Mabaki, Subhanahu, the one king of one king, Wanan Fikanafi Hilmanihi, in Kuli Shari Wazan Shanihi, was Samshikin Ability Asiyamada, Kailulanami Mutahawa Mutada, Mankala Hafiz Aman al Mubai, Amanahu La, Huminalahi, Baki Slim Sai, 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 Baki Slim Sai. Over the crown chakra and over the heart. La ilaha illallah, 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 la ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. Yeah. Welcome to the family of life. Does anybody have a pen?
Yep.
What's the date today?
17.
Now it's oh, come on.
To society today.
So they usually go to the right. Put your name on there. And yeah, if you want to put your name and the email and the phone number so we can keep in contact. The first practice is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You want to recite Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim up to 313 times a day or 500 times a day. This practice is very alchemical, so you want to recite the Bismillah ar-Rahim at least 12,000 times within the first 40 days. The easiest way is if you have prayer beads. I probably need to write it down on a piece of paper. Bismillah ar-Rahim means in the name of Allah, the gracious and merciful. The first practice goes in the subconscious mind and removes any blockages for God realization in the first 40 days. You got stuff in your hard drive from childhood that's creating certain behavior patterns in your life that you don't even know is there. The first practice, if you recite the Bismillah ar-Rahim, is going in there like a shovel, taking all that garbage out, giving you a clear foundation for elevation. So I'm asking everybody to recite the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and also to recite the La ilaha illallah as much as you can. But you don't need a number for La ilaha illallah right now, but try to keep track of the Bismillah ar-Rahim. I have a conference call on Sundays at 11 if you want to be a part of the conference call. You can be on the conference call every Sunday at 11. We have classes starting in January. But I would like to come to Brooklyn at least once a month, if that's okay. How many people could come to something like this once a month?
I like this.
I will come, you know, I get on the bus and come up here once a month just to be with. Y'all ain't gotta invite nobody else. If you want to bring some friends to school, but I want to just talk to y'all, give you the teaching, because this group got something solid that can work. And if we do it once a month, it's going to grow. The main thing is, I got Cheikh Sufi on YouTube, Cheikh Sufi on Instagram, and Cheikh Sufi on Crackbook. C-H-E-I, Facebook, I call it Crackbook. Come to me, baby. No, I'm in the chat. But the best thing you can do is find out how I can be in touch with the Cheikh and stay as close as possible to get the teaching. I got a feeling this brother's going to be very instrumental in the movement. If y'all can find a way to come together, I'll come once a week. But if y'all can find a way to meet once a month, I'll come once a month. But if y'all can find a way to meet once a week, that would be good. And maybe we can meet once a month here at the library, if we end on time. Thank you much for the time, sir. Don't worry about it. Yeah, that's on YouTube, bro. Yeah, I'll share the link to everybody. Yeah, I put my on the iPad.
You shooting up iPad or you shooting up this camera?
I did both.
So the iPad was for the live?
Most of us is connected in here.
It was on the Facebook Live. Yeah, so everybody, like, you know the brother here?
Yeah, everybody connected. So it's good.
All right, cool. Thank you. Yeah, it's good to meet y'all, man. Thank y'all for coming out. This is Ryan?
Yeah, this is Ryan. He the homie. He always consolidates shit.
Yeah, I see he pulled the whole.
Yeah, he bring the whole family out, bro. We be in tune, definitely.